Dr. Nicole Harper sat in her car outside Prestige Realty Group's Beverly Hills office, taking a moment to compose herself before going inside. She'd just finished a 12-hour shift at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where she'd performed 2 complex cardiovascular surgeries and consulted on 3 critical care cases. She was exhausted, but also excited, because today she was finally beginning the process of buying her dream home in the exclusive Westwood Hills neighborhood where she'd always imagined herself living. Before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Now, let's get back to the video. Nicole had spent the past 8 years building her career as one of the top cardiovascular surgeons in Southern California. She'd completed her residency at Johns Hopkins, done a fellowship at Stanford, and had been recruited to Cedars-Sinai 3 years ago with a compensation package that reflected her expertise and reputation. At 38 years old, she was earning well over $600,000 annually, had saved aggressively, and had recently inherited a substantial sum from her late grandmother's estate. Combined with her savings and investment portfolio, Nicole had liquid assets totaling just over $2 million and had been pre-approved for a mortgage up to $5 million. She was ready to buy a home in the $3 to $4 million range, something spacious and elegant that would reflect the success she'd worked so hard to achieve. She'd researched Westwood Hills extensively, identified several properties that met her criteria, and had scheduled this appointment with Bradley Pierce, a luxury real estate agent who specialized in high-end properties in that specific neighborhood. His website featured testimonials from satisfied clients and photos of him standing in front of multi-million-dollar estates with sold signs. He seemed perfect for what Nicole needed. Taking a deep breath, Nicole grabbed her leather portfolio containing her financial documents and walked into the office. The space was exactly what she'd expected from a luxury real estate firm, modern and sophisticated with floor-to-ceiling windows, contemporary furniture, and large photos of stunning properties displayed on every wall. A receptionist looked up and smiled professionally as Nicole approached. "Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nicole Harper. I have a 2 o'clock appointment with Bradley Pierce." "Of course, Dr. Harper. Let me let him know you're here." The receptionist picked up her phone and spoke quietly for a moment before hanging up. "He'll be right with you. Please have a seat." Nicole sat in one of the leather chairs near the window and pulled out her phone to check messages from the hospital. A few minutes later, a man in an expensive suit emerged from one of the glass offices. He was tall with perfectly styled hair and the kind of confidence that comes from years of closing deals with wealthy clients. But when his eyes landed on Nicole, something shifted in his expression. The professional smile became slightly strained, and Nicole recognized the look immediately because she'd seen it countless times throughout her career. "Dr. Harper?" Bradley Pierce extended his hand, though his grip was perfunctory. "Thanks for coming in. Let's go to my office and we can discuss what you're looking for." Nicole followed him into a spacious corner office with expansive views of Beverly Hills. The walls were covered with framed photos of Bradley receiving awards and standing with clients in front of expensive homes. His desk was large and modern, with 2 computer monitors displaying property listings. He gestured to a chair across from his desk, and Nicole sat down, placing her portfolio on her lap. "So," Bradley began, settling into his chair with the air of someone about to deliver disappointing news, "you mentioned on the phone that you're interested in properties in Westwood Hills. That's a very exclusive area with some of the highest property values in Los Angeles. Before we go any further, I think we need to have an honest conversation about what homes in that neighborhood actually cost and whether that aligns with your budget." Nicole kept her expression neutral. "I'm aware of the property values in Westwood Hills. That's specifically why I chose that neighborhood. I'm looking for a home in the $3 to $4 million range, preferably 4 to 5 bedrooms with a modern kitchen and good outdoor space." Bradley's eyebrows rose slightly and he leaned back in his chair. "3 to 4 million is certainly ambitious. Can I ask what you do for a living, Dr. Harper?" I'm a cardiovascular surgeon at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. I specialize in complex valve replacements and minimally invasive cardiac procedures. That's impressive. Bradley's tone suggested he didn't quite believe her. And you're looking to purchase on your own, or will there be a co-borrower, perhaps a spouse or partner who will be contributing to the financing? I'll be purchasing on my own. My finances are more than sufficient for the price range I mentioned. I see. Bradley turned to his computer and clicked through some screens. The thing is, Dr. Harper, and I want to be completely transparent with you here. Homes in Westwood Hills don't just require a high income. They require substantial liquid assets for the down payment, excellent credit, and the ability to comfortably afford not just the mortgage, but also property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and HOA fees. We're talking about total monthly costs that can easily exceed $20,000. That's over $200,000 per year just in housing costs alone. Most people, even people with good jobs, aren't in a position to handle that kind of financial commitment. I appreciate your concern, but I've done extensive financial planning and I'm confident in my ability to afford a home in that range. Nicole pulled a document from her portfolio. I have a pre-approval letter here from Union West Bank for up to $5 million. I also have documentation showing my income, assets, and credit score if you'd like to review them. She handed the pre-approval letter across the desk. Bradley took it, but barely glanced at it before setting it aside. Pre-approval letters are easy to get, Dr. Harper. Banks hand them out based on very preliminary information. What I'm concerned about is whether you truly understand the financial reality of what you're attempting to do. I've been selling luxury real estate for 15 years, and I've seen countless buyers who thought they could afford homes in this price range, only to realize during the process that they were in over their heads. I'm trying to save you from that disappointment, and frankly from wasting both of our time. Nicole felt her jaw tighten, but maintained her composure. Mr. Pierce, I'm not a naive first-time buyer who doesn't understand how real estate works. I'm a highly compensated medical professional with substantial savings and a strong financial position. I've come to you because I was told you specialize in Westwood Hills properties and could help me find the right home. If you're not interested in working with me based on assumptions you're making about my finances, then perhaps I should find an agent who's willing to actually do their job. That's not what I'm saying at all. Bradley's voice took on a patronizing tone. I'm absolutely willing to work with you, but I think we need to be realistic about what's achievable. What I'd suggest is that we look at some properties in other neighborhoods that might be more suitable for your situation. There are some very nice areas in Inglewood and Baldwin Hills where you could find excellent homes in the $800,000 to $1.2 million range. Those would be much more manageable for someone in your position. Someone in my position? Nicole's voice was quiet but sharp. What exactly do you mean by that, Mr. Pierce? I mean someone who's early in their career and still building wealth. Bradley seemed oblivious to how his words were landing. Look, you're a doctor, which is great, but you're also, probably in your late 30s? You've got student loans from medical school, you're building your practice, and you're trying to establish yourself financially. There's no shame in starting with a more modest home and working your way up to luxury properties later in life. That's what most people do. I don't have any student loans. My medical school was paid for through scholarships in my grandmother's estate. I've been earning a substantial income for 8 years. I have over $2 million in liquid assets available for a down payment. My credit score is 812. I have 0 debt. And I'm not interested in starter homes in neighborhoods I haven't chosen. I specifically want to see properties in Westwood Hills in the $3 to $4 million range. And I came to you because that's supposedly your specialty. Now are you going to show me properties or not? Bradley's expression had shifted from patronizing to openly skeptical. $2 million in liquid assets? I'm sorry, Dr. Harper, but that seems highly unlikely for someone your age. Most doctors don't accumulate that kind of wealth until much later in their careers. I think perhaps you're confusing total net worth with actual liquid cash available for a down payment. I know exactly what liquid assets means, Mr. Pierce. I'm talking about cash, stocks, and bonds that can be converted to cash within days. I'm not including retirement accounts or other investments. I have account statements here if you'd like to verify. That won't be necessary. Bradley stood up, signaling that the meeting was coming to an end. Dr. Harper, I appreciate you coming in, but I don't think I'm the right agent for you. My practice focuses exclusively on luxury properties and high net worth clients. What you're describing, even if it's accurate, suggests you'd be stretching yourself financially to buy in Westwood Hills. I don't work with buyers who are going to be house poor or who might struggle to close once we find a property. I'd recommend you connect with an agent who works in more affordable neighborhoods where your budget would go further. Nicole sat very still for a moment, processing what had just happened. Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You're refusing to show me properties because you don't believe I have the financial means to purchase them, despite me providing a pre-approval letter and offering to show you documentation of my assets. You've made these assumptions without actually reviewing any of my financial information in detail. And you're suggesting I look in neighborhoods I specifically told you I'm not interested in. Is that an accurate summary? I'm making a professional judgment based on 15 years of experience in this market. Bradley's voice was firm. And my judgment is that this isn't a good fit. Your professional judgment or your personal bias. Nicole stood and gathered her portfolio. Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like you took one look at me and decided a black woman in her 30s couldn't possibly afford a multi-million-dollar home in an exclusive neighborhood. You didn't review my financials, you didn't ask substantive questions about my needs or preferences, and you spent this entire meeting trying to convince me to lower my expectations and look elsewhere. That's not professional judgment, Mr. Pierce. That's discrimination. That's a serious accusation. Bradley's face reddened. I treat all my clients the same regardless of their background. If you can't handle honest feedback about your financial situation, that's your problem, not mine. We'll see whose problem it becomes. Nicole pulled out her phone. I've recorded this entire conversation, Mr. Pierce. Every dismissive comment, every assumption, every suggestion that I look at cheaper homes in different neighborhoods. I'm going to be filing a formal complaint with the California Department of Real Estate and with fair housing authorities, and I'm going to make sure every potential client knows exactly how you treat people who don't look like your typical wealthy white buyers. You recorded me without my consent? Bradley's voice rose. That's illegal in California. Actually, it's not. Nicole's voice was calm. California is a two-party consent state for confidential conversations, but real estate transactions are not considered confidential under the law, particularly when discussing business services in a commercial office setting. I'm well within my legal rights to document this interaction. And given what you've said, I'm glad I did. She walked to the door, then paused and turned back. By the way, Mr. Pierce, I'll be purchasing a home in Westwood Hills within the next 60 days. It'll probably be in the $4 million range. I'll pay cash to avoid the hassle of mortgage underwriting, and I'll be working with an agent who actually wants my business. I hope the commission you just lost was worth whatever satisfaction you got from putting me in what you thought was my place. Nicole walked out of Bradley's office, through the reception area, and out to her car. She sat in the driver's seat for a moment, her hands shaking with anger and adrenaline. Then she pulled out her phone and made a call. Marcus Webb and Associates. How may I direct your call? This is Dr. Nicole Harper. I need to speak with Marcus Webb, please. Tell him it's about a fair housing discrimination case, and it's urgent. Within 2 minutes, she was connected to Marcus Webb, one of the most prominent civil rights attorneys in Los Angeles, and someone Nicole had gotten to know through mutual friends in the medical community. Nicole, Marcus's warm voice came through the phone. What's going on? I just experienced the most blatant case of housing discrimination I could have imagined, and I recorded the entire thing. Nicole's voice was steady now, the initial shock giving way to cold determination. "I need you to help me make sure this never happens to anyone else. Tell me everything." Marcus's tone shifted to professional focus. "And send me that recording as soon as we hang up." Nicole spent the next 20 minutes detailing everything that had happened in Bradley Pierce's office. Marcus listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. When she finished, there was a brief pause. "Nicole, this is absolutely actionable." Marcus's voice was firm. "What he did violates multiple fair housing laws. The fact that you have it recorded makes this an incredibly strong case. I'm going to file complaints with every relevant agency, and I'm going to contact his brokerage to inform them they have a major liability problem. If you're willing to pursue this, I'll handle everything. I'm absolutely willing." Nicole's voice was steel. "I want him held accountable, and I want to make sure this doesn't happen to the next black professional who walks into his office with the audacity to want a nice home. Consider it done." "And Nicole?" Marcus's voice softened slightly. "I'm sorry you had to experience that. You deserve better." The next morning, Marcus Webb walked into Prestige Realty Group's office with a briefcase full of legal documents and a stern expression that made the receptionist immediately nervous. He was dressed in an immaculate suit and carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd won more cases than he'd lost. "I need to speak with Bradley Pierce and with whoever manages this office." Marcus handed the receptionist his card. "Tell them Marcus Webb is here regarding a fair housing violation and potential civil lawsuit." The receptionist's eyes widened as she read the card. "One moment, please." Within minutes, Bradley appeared looking irritated until he saw Marcus and recognized the name from the business card. The color drained from his face. Behind Bradley came a woman in her 50s wearing a sharp business suit with a name tag identifying her as Patricia Morrison, Regional Director. "Mr. Webb," Patricia extended her hand, though her expression was cautious. "I'm Patricia Morrison. I oversee operations for this region. Your assistant said something about a fair housing violation?" "That's correct." Marcus pulled a folder from his briefcase. "Yesterday afternoon, your agent Bradley Pierce met with my client, Dr. Nicole Harper, a cardiovascular surgeon interested in purchasing a home in Westwood Hills in the $3 to $4 million range. Despite her providing a mortgage pre-approval for $5 million and offering to provide documentation of over $2 million in liquid assets, Mr. Pierce refused to show her properties in her stated price range and neighborhood of choice. Instead, he repeatedly suggested she look at homes in different neighborhoods at much lower price points. He made assumptions about her financial capability without reviewing her actual financial documentation, and he made statements suggesting she couldn't afford luxury properties. The entire conversation was recorded, and I have it here." Marcus pulled out his phone and played portions of the recording. Bradley's voice filled the small office as he questioned Nicole's finances, suggested she was stretching beyond her means, and recommended she look at cheaper neighborhoods. Patricia's face grew more grave with each passing minute. When the recording ended, Patricia turned to Bradley, whose face had gone from pale to red. "Is this accurate? Did this conversation happen the way it's presented here?" "Ms. Morrison, I can explain." Bradley's voice shook. "I was trying to manage expectations and make sure we weren't wasting time on properties the client couldn't actually afford. That's standard practice in luxury real estate. Standard practice is reviewing a client's actual financial documentation, not making assumptions based on how they look." Marcus's voice was cold. "Mr. Pierce never asked to see Dr. Harper's bank statements, investment accounts, or detailed financial information, even though she offered multiple times. He made a judgment about her purchasing power within minutes of meeting her and spent the entire appointment trying to redirect her to neighborhoods and price points well below what she'd clearly stated she wanted and could afford." Patricia held up her hand. "Mr. Webb, I need to investigate this thoroughly before I can make any statements. Can you give me 24 hours to review everything and speak with Mr. Pierce?" "You can have 24 hours, but I want to be very clear about something." Marcus pulled more documents from his briefcase. I'm filing formal complaints today with the California Department of Real Estate, the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. This isn't just an internal personnel matter, Ms. Morrison. Your agent violated fair housing laws, and your company has potential liability for his discriminatory practices. I'm also filing a civil lawsuit on behalf of Dr. Harper, seeking damages for the discrimination she experienced and for the emotional distress of being treated as unworthy of basic professional service based on her race. We don't tolerate discrimination at this company. Patricia's voice was firm. If the investigation confirms what you're alleging, there will be serious consequences. I'm not alleging anything. Marcus tapped the phone where the recording was still visible. I have documented evidence. The question isn't whether discrimination occurred. The question is how your company is going to respond and what you're going to do to ensure this never happens again. Bradley tried to interject. This is being blown way out of proportion. I was doing my job, trying to manage client expectations like I do with everyone. Really? Marcus turned to face Bradley directly. Tell me, Mr. Pierce, when was the last time you told a white client with a $5 million pre-approval letter that they should look at homes under $1.5 million in completely different neighborhoods? When was the last time you refused to show a white doctor properties in their stated price range because you didn't believe they had the means to afford them? Bradley said nothing, his jaw working but no words coming out. That's what I thought. Marcus turned back to Patricia. Ms. Morrison, I'll expect to hear from you within 24 hours about what actions you're taking. In the meantime, Dr. Harper will be working with another agent, someone who actually wants to help her find a beautiful home instead of questioning whether she deserves one. Marcus left the office, and within the hour, the complaints had been filed with every relevant agency. Patricia Morrison spent the rest of the day conducting interviews with other agents in the office, reviewing Bradley's past transactions and examining whether there were patterns of discriminatory behavior. What she found was deeply troubling. 2 other agents reported that Bradley had made comments about certain clients not being right for luxury properties. A review of his client list over the past 3 years showed that 94% of his closed transactions were with white buyers despite Los Angeles's diverse population. Several online reviews from non-white potential clients described experiences similar to Nicole's, though none had pursued formal complaints. By the end of the day, Patricia had made her decision. She called Bradley into her office with an HR representative present. Bradley, after reviewing the evidence and conducting interviews, I'm terminating your employment effective immediately. Patricia's voice was formal and final. You violated company policy. You exposed us to significant legal liability, and your conduct is inconsistent with our values. You have 1 hour to collect your personal belongings and leave the premises. Your real estate license will be suspended pending investigation by the Department of Real Estate, and I'll be recommending permanent revocation. Bradley's protests fell on deaf ears. Within weeks, the Department of Real Estate had suspended his license. The fair housing complaint resulted in a settlement that cost him financially and damaged his reputation permanently. He never worked in real estate again. Dr. Nicole Harper, meanwhile, found a wonderful agent named Jennifer Martinez, who treated her with the professionalism and respect she deserved. Within 6 weeks, Nicole had closed on a stunning $4.2 million estate in Westwood Hills, with 6 bedrooms, a gourmet kitchen, pool, and breathtaking views of the city. She paid $3 million cash and financed the remainder with ease. The story made headlines in real estate industry publications and served as a cautionary tale about the consequences of discrimination. Nicole used her platform to speak about the barriers that Black professionals face in accessing housing and wealth-building opportunities, even when they have substantial means. Because sometimes justice means more than just punishing one person's prejudice. It means exposing systemic problems, holding institutions accountable, and creating change that benefits everyone who comes after. Bradley Pierce learned that assumptions based on race can destroy a career, and Nicole Harper proved that success looks different than narrow-minded people expect, and that discrimination has no place in any industry that claims to serve the public. Thank you very much for listening. Please let us know what you think of this story in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any other videos.